Hey, it's Jay. Next, I want to talk to you about the wound. What comes up in you when you hear the word the wound? We have been programmed. Oh man, I was there. I'm still there. I don't want to go to the wound. I don't want the psychobabble. And yet, we are forced to deal with it if we are to take Jesus seriously at all. His announcement of his mission and the initiation of his ministry on earth was with the Isaiah 61 prophecy, the messianic prophecy. I've come to heal the brokenhearted, to bind up their wounds, to set the captive free. Now, is it likely that only a few of us on earth are brokenhearted? Or is it inevitable that Jesus is speaking of humanity as a whole? Because part of the result of the fall and living in a fallen world is that every one of us gets broken in some way. That's what I'm going with, right? So I submit to the process, I submit to the reality, and I ask God, all right, if something in me is broken, then I want you to reveal it if you will go with me and help bring healing to it. And that's what Jesus said. Hey, I've come to heal the brokenhearted. But if you don't acknowledge it, or if you don't see it, how can it possibly be healed? So on the last video, we talked about the poser. We talked about living in a larger story. How does all this fit together? God's given you desires. Why those desires are set within you so that when brought to maturity and partnership with God, they're used on behalf of others, not just yourself. But there's something in the way, is that we have constructed from an early age a self-life where it's our strength, our wisdom, our skills, our gift sets that have to be trusted in. Where did we get that? Where did that come in? So you can see behind me, this is my Forerunner. This is a vehicle that I have wanted since middle school, and I got one in 2014, and I use it every opportunity that I possibly can. So I've been out here for a couple of days in the back country of Colorado, and I'm up on this remote peak overlooking Buena Vista, and it is not only accessible only by four-wheel drive, but it has to be a good four-wheel drive. And I just got so many screams and hoots and hollers on my way up here yesterday, because that's the most treacherous thing I've ever done, and I didn't know that my truck was going to make it. But it was glorious, and it was fun. And as I am in the back roads, the Lord reminds me, because he's always tying today into the past and saying, do you see? This is fascinating. Years ago, well, I'll start by saying that Colorado has actually been ground zero for me for a lot of the spiritual ground that's been taken back. The Lord's brought me out here. God uses other environments, hopefully boot camp, basic, advanced, first tracks, the other things that we're offer. All of those are environments for us to meet and have an experience with God. But the first time I came up here, I came with some buddies, and I had never done a back road in a four-wheel drive before. And so I rented an H3 at the car dealership, the sales car dealership. And I was so excited. So we take off, we come out here, and I'm, doing some processing with God. But I got up one morning and I invited some buddies, hey, let's go out on some of these roads and let's see how high we can go up the mountain. So we get in the car and it's late May, but there's still snow on the road some, but most of the snow we can just kind of punch through real quickly and keep going, and then it's wet ground again. And we came to a turn that goes up a hill like a switchback. And it had some snow on it, and I tried punching through it, and it didn't work, and so I backed up, and I went and I tried to punch through it again. It didn't work. I tried a third time, and this time I got stuck. And the more I tried going back and forth and to free myself in it, I began sliding, and eventually I got to the point where there's two wheels in the snow that are just spinning, and then another two wheels that are off the embankment, and if it were to keep going, then it would actually fall down the hill and end up in the trees. And I walked away miles away from our camp with my buddies, just doing the walk of shame. I felt like the dumbest, most stupid idiot, and God was in the whole thing. I'm walking up the hill. I'm feeling so embarrassed with my buddies, and God made me aware. He made me be present to myself in that moment. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And I actually felt as I was walking with my buddies that my father, my earthly father, who would never have done anything like that, was there with me, and it was dead silent. And it was just this sense of real disappointment because I did something really stupid that I shouldn't have. And I'd never processed anything like that before. And I realized that what I had done was taken a series of events that I had developed an idea about from my childhood, and they had produced in me a wound that I'm broken, I'm shattered in this area. And the poser was born out of that, this deep fear of being stupid or being a disappointment. And so the world that I constructed came out of that, and God in His kindness used that event to bring it to the surface. And that's what He does. And He continues to do that. He's done that in so many more occasions. So what's the great next chapter in the story? Here I am 12 years later in my own four-wheel drive vehicle because I'm a son and I've been practicing sonship for years, and I'm driving roads that make that road look like it's a kindergarten sidewalk, with a little three-wheeler. I mean, this was hair-raising yesterday, and the Lord was right beside me. My Father was right beside me saying, let's do it. Come on, let's go. Let's go. And that sense of delight and that understanding that when I go to the self-life, it's really not the truest thing about me. I just need to push through it. Push through it with the Lord, that He and I are going to work it out together. And He has been healing my broken places for years. And that's the offer for you, if you will go there.